Hi, today we're going to do an ADHD overview, and we'll also give you some practical tools for the ADHD brain, and we'll try to make this quick. I'm Luke Hammons. I'm founder of the A Plus Organizational Academy, and I'm also an executive function coach and consultant. Today we're going to discuss what's at stake for individuals with ADHD, so why should we care, the neuroscience of ADHD, and practical tools for the ADHD brain. And actually, we're going to mix up parts 2 and 3, so we'll give you a little neuroscience, and then we'll give you some tools to help. All right, so what's the ADHD myth versus reality? Well, the myth is it's just for hyperactive boys. They can't sit still in class. But the truth is, you have a lot of people with inattentive type ADHD, and that often goes diagnosed. And unfortunately, that's often girls and women. I also have inattentive type ADHD. That student will go undiagnosed often because they'll be in class. They're not getting in trouble. They're just sitting there, but their mind is a million miles away. And what I want to emphasize here is it's not about a lack of willpower or laziness, it's a neurological reality. So the stakes, let's get into it. Why we should care. So someone with ADHD is 3 times more likely to have accidental injuries or car accidents, 10 times more likely to experience teenage pregnancy, 3 times more likely to struggle with substance abuse, and 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. And then we have a quiet tragedy. So the headline is ADHD is about accidents, addictions, hyperactivity. But there's another reality, and that's of a very capable, smart person who's underachieving and feeling totally overwhelmed with life. This creates a trauma because this person's been called lazy, a klutz, an underachiever, and this demolishes their self esteem. This creates a double dose of a problem where the person still has ADHD, they have to manage the symptoms, and they also have trauma. All right, let's get going. Neuroscience inside the ADHD brain. First, we're going to talk about the dopamine deficit. Next, we're going to talk about low norepinephrine, and then DMN versus TPN. We'll start with dopamine. It's the neural fuel for anticipation, pursuit, and goal attainment. In other words, it helps you get started and keep going until a task or job is finished. The ADHD dopamine deficit causes dopamine seeking behaviors. So, a person with ADHD is going to be looking for a big hit of dopamine. They could get that from scrolling on their phone, playing a video game, looking at TikTok, a drug, sex, a sugar, things like that. Also, a lack of dopamine can make boredom feel almost unbearable, and also frustration is worse. So someone with ADHD, they will often quit projects. They might have a lot of open projects because they quit a lot. It makes it more difficult to plan and do long-term thinking, and it gives the person a poor working memory. Now, the last point here is it can also cause hyperfocus. So with someone with ADHD, if they're interested in something, they can totally get lost in it. And this could actually be good if it's something positive, like playing an instrument or a sport or studying biology. But if they're hyper-focused on a video game, it's probably not going to help them in their lives. All right, so how can we increase dopamine? Well, there's many ways, but just some of the main ones is exercise, protein-rich foods, task completion. So actually finishing something will give you a hit of dopamine, and something new. Doing something new will give you a hit of dopamine. So I want to emphasize this that if you have ADHD, your cerebral cortex, the executive function part of your brain, the brain that's responsible for doing adult things like planning, controlling your emotions, it doesn't work so well. And so you've got to outsource it. Okay. So if you don't have a good working memory, you need to get good at making lists, right? So you're outsourcing that executive function into a list. You need to keep a calendar. You could use a timer. And then there's many other things. But this is just something I want us to think about, and I'll come back to it, is outsourcing that part of the brain. Another key point here is it can be very hard to start a new habit or change your behavior. So, what we're going to always emphasize is focusing on the environment. So, if it's really hard to do homework at home, try going to a library or a coffee shop. If you're having trouble working out, go to a gym, change the environment. Even better, meet a friend in the gym. That will help make it actually happen. If your room is in chaos, if you organize the room, if everything's in its place, it will help you finish whatever you're doing. Okay, so what's the other side of this? What will make your dopamine be even more inefficient? Well, if you don't get enough sleep, that will cause major problems. In fact, if a person is neurotypical, if they don't get enough sleep, they start exhibiting a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. If you overload on cheap dopamine, so if you're scrolling for hours or playing video games for hours or whatever, afterwards you'll crash and your dopamine will be really low. You used it up basically. And then you'll see like zombie like behavior from the person. They won't have motivation to do anything. Another thing that could decrease your dopamine would be too much sugar. All right, so now let's talk about neuroepinephrine. So, neuroepinephrine in the brain, it controls focus and attention. All right. So it can turn down background noise to help with focus. So imagine someone in a class and the teacher's giving a lecture and there's a bird outside chirping. If you have a healthy norepinephrine system, you're able to tune out the bird and focus on the teacher. However, someone with ADHD, the norepinephrine system is not working properly, and it seems like the bird outside is just as important as the teacher giving the lecture. So as you can imagine, very hard to focus. So some things you could do to help with that would be if you're going to study or do something important, be in a silent environment. Something else that can help people is called brown noise. It's a certain frequency of noise. You can find it on YouTube and other places. Some people, this really helps. They'll put on headphones with brown noise and it helps them focus. Another hack would be called body doubling. So if you're in a place where everyone is doing an activity, it makes it easier to do that activity. So working out in a gym is easier than working out at home because everyone around you is also working out. And another thing I really like this to help with focus is just to create a deadline, create urgency. So, an example is I had this presentation scheduled to give that created urgency because I knew I had to go live with it. And then that really helped me focus in and finish the PowerPoint. All right, so a lack of norepinephrine also causes poor emotional control, less inhibition, higher impulsivity. I want to emphasize this because this is where the extremely dangerous behaviors come up. So, this would be like if someone's driving and someone cuts them off, instead of being able just to kind of blow it off, they get really mad, they get road rage, and actually do something in the car that's not smart. Very dangerous. Teenage pregnancies, suicide. So a lot of us get depressed. We don't feel good one day. But because we're not that impulsive, we probably won't do anything about it. Someone with ADHD is way more likely to feel really bad and then do something about it. Okay. All right, so what can we do for impulsivity? Well, anything that we don't want to be doing, we can make it harder to do. So if you're addicted to sugar, just get it out of the house. If you're addicted to your phone, when you get home, you can put it in a lockbox. You could block TikTok on your phone. Just try to make that activity harder. And this next hack I really like a lot. It's increasing regulating activities. So when you're stressed, you're going to be more impulsive. The higher your stress is, the worse your emotional regulation is. So find activities that regulate you and do those because anything you can do to lower your stress is also going to lower your impulsivity. So imagine someone goes to yoga, they're totally relaxed. If someone cuts them off in their car, they're way more likely to just let it go. Okay? So find your emotionally regulating activity and do more of it. So it just could be an art, a sport, playing an instrument, meditation, whatever works for you. The final thing we're going to talk about is TPN versus DMN. Your TPN is your task positive network. That's where your mind is focused on the outside world. It solves a math problem, it drives a car. There's another system in your brain called DMN, which is the default mode network, and this is active when you're at rest. This is kind of like daydreams, past memories, future worries, self-reflection. So TPN looks outward, DMN looks inward. So in a neurotypical brain, when one system is on, the other is off. In an ADHD brain, they're both on at the same time. This can result in an internal monologue or criticism going on while someone is trying to do a task. So imagine you're trying to do a math problem, but your brain keeps talking to you, interrupting, even telling you you're not going to get this right. That means it takes way more energy to focus. It can also create shame. If you have a constant voice going on in your head, it can often catastrophize, tell you things are going to go wrong. It could replay failures in worst case scenarios. So, some more brain hacks to help deal with that internal monologue. One is a brain dump. That's where you get a piece of paper and you just write for 5, 10, 15 minutes, no filter, everything in your brain. You're going to try to get it out of your head and onto paper. If you don't like to write, you could use a recorder and just speak into the phone for, or your phone, your recorder, whatever, for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Try to externalize that voice. Another hack that works is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. This is to get you out of your head and back into your body and senses. So, what you would do is you'd look around you and you would name 5 things you see, then you'd name 4 things you feel, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, and 1 you taste. And this can kind of short circuit that inner monologue and put you back into your body. Some final thoughts are that ADHD, it's not about laziness. It's not about trying hard enough. It's a real neurological difference. Number 2 is pills don't teach skills. So ADHD is highly medicated. However, and the medications often work. But the problem is, let's say you take a pill to help you focus. If you just go and play a video game, it's not going to make your life better. However, if you take a pill to help you focus and you know exactly what you need to be doing to improve your life, or something you need to finish, it can really help. But the pill by itself isn't enough. Um, Another thing I want to emphasize is outsource the cerebral cortex, your executive function. Try to help your brain, create systems around your brain, externalize the cerebral cortex to make your life easier. So, list making, using a calendar, etc. Focus on changing the environment. So instead of beating yourself up and telling yourself to work harder, see what you can do to change your surroundings to help you be successful. And the final thing is that ADHD is not an excuse. It's a user manual and a roadmap. So as a coach, I'll hear people say, "Oh, my ADHD got me fired today." Well, I don't feel like that's a helpful thought to have. Our ADHD, knowing we have it, knowing the symptoms, it just means, okay, I know I have these problems. I'm going to have to work on these things. I have to create systems to help me out so my life does not go off the rails. To end on a positive note, many modern day heroes have ADHD. So some confirmed people with ADHD are Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, Richard Branson, and others. Unconfirmed, but very likely, their biographers say they probably have ADHD, and people who study them would be Michael Jordan, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Leonardo da Vinci, and Winston Churchill. All right, so now that we know how the ADHD brain works, what do we do next? We offer the A Plus Organizational Academy. It's a full on-demand course built for the ADHD brain. We take you on a 3-part journey. Part 1 is called Motivate. That's where you find out what drives you or drives your team, and it gives you the energy to get started and believe you can be successful. Part 2 is called Build. That's where we create a system to deal with these ADHD symptoms we've been talking about. And part 3 is called Flourish, and that's where we start working on how do you make a positive habit in your life and stick with it. This course is simple by design, okay? It's just 15 minutes a day. The videos are short and always actionable. So you don't just listen to someone lecture. What you do is you're building something, you're working on something. We have fillable worksheets and practical tools that you can start using immediately. All right, and there's a bonus. There's a one-on-one coaching session included. This could be with me or someone else from our team. In that session, we can troubleshoot any problems you're having, help with family conflicts, parent-teen conflicts, and really try to build a plan that's going to work for you and your family. We really want to see you be successful. The course also has a 15-day money-back guarantee. If for any reason you don't like it, just tell us. We'll give your money back. And we're covered by ESA and EFA funds in many states. You can find us in ClassWallet and in the ClassWallet Marketplace. So if you're ready to go from chaos to confidence in just 15 minutes a day, you can go to our website. If you're already in the website, you can just add the on-demand course to the cart. If you're signed up with ClassWallet, it will do everything automatically for you. And if you have doubts, give me a call. My number is 720-693-1689. I'll talk to you, troubleshoot what's happening in your life, and we'll see if this A Plus Organizational Academy is right for you. My email is hammondsl@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. It really means a lot to me that you listened all the way through here. I hope you found it helpful. And I want you to know that it is possible to make things better. You can get your life on track. There can be less fights in the house. There can be peace in the house. It's possible and you can do it. Thank you.